Okay, and we're rolling. Here we are. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that I'm here. I can't believe I got in the building in one piece as well.
Well,
I'll be honest with you.
Were you stopping search?
Do you know what I was?
You were search? Oh, well, there you go. So clearly they're doing their job right then. They did their job
right.
Good.
Oh man. Hello everybody. Welcome to the Luton's Deadpool podcast with me, Luton's Deadpool, and my main man, Festus, the guy that is the top of the police and crime commission here in Bedfordshire. He's doing some great things, and honestly, I can't tell you how honoured I am to be here. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to be with you, superhero.
Oh, Festus, man, don't, please. I'm blushing. I'm telling you.
Okay, I can tell. Blushing all over as well.
Do you know what? It was quite funny. When I got to the building, I was walking up, and one car went out and was kind of looking at me, and I was like, "Oh, have I made a mistake?" Because I've got my swords on and stuff, and I thought, am I actually going to get into this building, or am I going to get shot, or am I going to get tasered?
We didn't let people know ahead of time that you were coming. Well, if you're coming tomorrow, though, you might get in trouble, or they won't be expecting you.
Yeah. Well, luckily I had Stephen come out as well. Stephen Beer from the Beds Cohesion Unit.
Yes.
He came
Good
out
guy.
and greeted
Good
me.
guy.
A wonderful man. I love
Brilliant.
Stephen. He's just he's always out and about in different events, and he's really putting the good word out for the police. So big love to you, Stephen. I'm sure that Festus loves you as well.
I love everybody.
Yeah, I know.
Especially you.
Oh, don't, please.
Especially
man. That's so nice of you to
you.
say. No, but bro, this isn't about me. This is about you. This is why I wanted to come here today. For anybody that doesn't know, Festus and me first sort of interacted on a dance challenge that I put to him, and he still wants to hide from me.
Listen, I'm not going to dance with a man in uniform. No way. I'm not dancing with a man. No, it ain't happening.
I saw your moves.
Well, I've got moves.
You was at a party or something.
I've got moves.
So we
had a barbecue at my house.
Was it,
We had a barbecue, and actually, the boys that I was having a dance off with, he used to play on the same football team with my son in Luton.
Okay.
So he brought all his mates over to the barbecue. So I just thought, since they're having a dance party, let me just have a dance off with them. And I think he thought he was going to kind of outgun me, But
mate, you destroyed him.
I took him to school. I ate his heart.
Was amazing.
Spat it out.
It was genuinely brilliant. That's why I challenged you. Because to be honest with you, I thought I'd lose. If I'm going to be honest.
No, you will lose.
Yeah.
You would have lost.
You said it,
because I'm a nice guy.
Is that why you're not challenging me?
No, I don't want. I'm not going to challenge you. All these kids that look up to you, right? All these kids that look up to you, we don't want them to downgrade your superhero next. So we've got to keep you up there, right? So there you go.
I've got to keep the illusion going. That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense. No, but in all seriousness, let's talk about you and where you've come from, what you're doing, all of that sort of stuff. So, firstly, you're not from the UK at all.
No, I was born
in Nigeria.
I was born in Nigeria,
Yep.
and then I came to England when I was 13 years old with my dad. Dad was involved in politics back then in Nigeria. Then there was a military coup, and all the elections was overturned, and military rulers was pretty much put at every single tier of government, even from the federal to the local level. So Dad came over here, and then a couple of years later, myself and my twin sister came to join him in Mum. I do have a twin sister.
Oh wow!
Much better looking than me. She's got hair as well. She's got hair. She's great. And we settled on a council estate in East London, in Newham, in Canning Town, and I have fond memories of that. But what really struck me was the contrast to the life that I was used to in Nigeria. We were pretty okay to come into England where there were 8 of us in a 2-bedroom flat. So a family of 4, my mom, my dad, my sister and I, another family of 4 in a 2nd bedroom. And I've never experienced that before. Then I ended up seeing some not very pleasant stuff, in terms of the crime, the violence, friends who were doing drugs, were in gangs, I saw some really, really, I still remember them to tomorrow. Then, I got exposed to the N-word.
Yeah.
I was in East London at the time when the National Front were just on the way down, actually, and then the BNP took over from them pretty much. and I remember being chased by the National Front.
No way.
Yeah. That was frightening, man.
I'm not surprised.
That was frightening.
What sort of years was this?
That was around 93, 94.
So it's near Stephen Lawrence, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, with Stephen Lawrence, I remember exactly where I was when I heard the news that some black guy had been, been to death or something like that somewhere in London. I was on my way to basketball practice that day. And actually, I'm very good friends with his friend, Dwayne Brooks, so I was with Dwayne a couple of weeks ago, and we still talk every now and again. Yeah, so it was, bad times.
Scary, man. Scary as well. Do you know what I mean? I can't even imagine. I'm lucky that,
But here I am now, some 30 years later.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that a boy who comes here, an immigrant, grew up on a council estate, end up setting a business up, from his dad's council flat when I was 22, 23 years old, to now employing about 60 people, and is now Police and Crime Commissioner, right?
I know, that's such a journey, man. Well done to you. Firstly, well done to you.
No, thanks.
Because you know what? Most people who come from that kind of a background would not be able to believe in themselves enough to get on with it. Do you know what I mean? It's a hard thing when you're faced with adversity, when you want to try and do well for yourself and for your community and stuff. But you know what? When you're facing adversity, you get so many knockdowns. Eventually, some people just can't take it.
That is true, but I think about this quite a lot. I'm like, well, Festus, what was different about you? Because I don't think I'm that special. I'm not, the cleverest or the smart. I'm not, nothing like that. I'm not thick. Don't get me wrong. But I was very lucky that I had great parents.
Yeah.
My dad, he worked 3 jobs as a cleaner. At Burton's Menswear, that was his early morning job. Then he'll go and do his cleaning job at Tower Hamlets Council. And then at night, he'll go and do his cleaning job as a cleaner at McDonald's. This was a guy who was a pretty big shot in Nigeria. Now he comes to England as a cleaner. But he would always say to me, look, you can achieve whatever you want to achieve, but you've got to remember, Fest, education is important. You can't joke around with school. You can't mess around with education. And even though Dad was always working, this man never missed the parents' evening.
Yeah,
he would miss his shift, which he needed the money because he had masters. Because I had siblings back home as well.
Yeah,
that he had to send money to. He would miss his shift to come to a parents' evening, and for me, that was a very important example as to how important education is. It's not something that you can compromise on, and that in a way fits into what I'm doing as Police and Crime Commissioner with the work that I'm doing with the schools.
Yeah,
because I really want our young people to recognize that even though they might want to become a football player or an athlete in other sports or a musician or whatever it is that you want to be, the basics you've got to get. And education helps you.
Yeah, 100%.
And education is not just about grades.
Yeah,
it's about that routine, getting up in the morning and going to school,
right?
The social element of it. The discipline that comes from having someone teach you. Yeah. Because whatever it is that you've got to do in life, you've got to be able to take instructions, right?
Yeah. So someone that's more learned than you need to be able to listen and be quiet.
Like you have junior superheroes.
Yeah.
They've got to learn from a senior superhero, right? Like you. So if you don't learn how to learn from a young age, how are you going to learn when you're older?
Yes, great point, man. It's a great point. I've not thought about it like that, but it makes sense. I've always tried to maintain my own personal philosophy of whatever people say to me, good or bad, it's worth taking in because it's a lesson, right?
Yeah.
Some people give you bad advice, and people would say, don't listen to them. No, but you should listen to them because that's a way to not be.
Exactly right.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So, like, everything can be a lesson, whether it's good or bad. You can always take something from it. Yeah. It's beautiful that you think like that. Can I just quickly, I've just realised that I've messed up. Hold on one second.
Fine. You didn't press record.
I didn't. No. It's recording. I didn't do my airplane mode, and if someone calls me, it will cut off the entire podcast.
Oh, really? Has someone called you?
No one's called me. We're still rolling.
Okay. Good. Right, cool.
Don't worry. We got all of it.
Fine, no worries.
Oh man, trust me. The one person who I would not like this to happen with, it's happened several times. Where this podcast I've been building for a long time now, and in the very early days, I didn't know what I was doing. And as time's gone on, now I know I follow this step, and it works. Yeah. So it was just, I forgot to put it on aeroplane mode.
That's fine.
We're good. I forget almost every episode. It's so annoying. But
anyway, this is how you remember.
Yeah. So talk to me then about, so you said about obviously growing up in London, and it sounded like it was quite a traumatic time. But obviously, you stayed away from the crime and stuff. And you know, I'm always really interested in people that are like that because you know, when you're coming from an underprivileged world, like you know, I come from working class background, right? And I was,
and you messed up a bit, didn't you?
I did, yeah, man. I was going to say, like, you know, hopefully I don't get arrested for this now, and all these years later. No, but when I was a kid, I did get influenced by some of the people that were around me. And I made a lot of mistakes. I chose to hang out with.
We all do. We all do.
I done wrong things, and you know, I didn't do anything that was too bad, but I wasn't hanging around with the best people, and I let them influence me. And you know, I didn't really have a good family upbringing. You know, it was quite a traumatic thing for me growing up, and my mum was kind of not really there. She was kind of there, but she wasn't really there.
Okay.
You know, I didn't get the same support in terms of going to school. You know, I basically didn't go to school for year 10. And if I would have had a more present parent during that year, I maybe would have done a bit better. Because before then, I was a top class student. I was doing, I was in top set for maths, and I was doing really good with history. I loved my science. And, you know, I just fell off in year 10 because I had problems at home and nobody was there to help me. So, you know, you say about obviously family being quite important in your life for why you stay on a good track. But what about people who don't necessarily have that? How can they like avoid
this?
This
is a real challenge. It's a real challenge, if I'm honest with you, because the government can't be everybody's parents. The local authority can't be everybody's parents, even though they might try. We see the life outcomes of young people who are taken into care. It's a real concern to me. Because they're so much more vulnerable, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to do something to support more and more of these young people. But it's a real challenge. But look, one thing I've realized in this job is that there's so many things that I want to do, but I've only got so much resources to be able to do so many things. So I've had to become content with doing the very best with what I have, where I can, rather than to become despondent about the things that I can't do. So I try to get to as many schools as I can. So I get to about 2 or 3 schools every week in Bedfordshire. Does that make a huge difference? I don't know.
I think it does.
Based on the feedback that we get from some of the kids, from their parents, they really appreciate the intervention that takes place. Now, I wish I could meet every child in every school, but that's not possible in all cases. We've got a youth conference that will be taking place at the end of this month, so on the 28th of February, the 1st and the 2nd of March. We are going to be hosting all the year 9 students in all of Bedfordshire. So one day will be for Central Bedfordshire, one day for Luton Borough, and then one day for Bedford Borough children, young people. We've got a lovely package that we're going to be presenting to the children, with the young people. Lots of different messages that will be coming across to them, all positive, inspiring, and empowering messages. We've got over 300 young people signed up so far.
That's amazing.
Last year, we had about 70.
Wow, that's a massive improvement on last year.
So we've got over 300 young people signed up for this so far this year, all year 9 students. And then next year will be the year 8s this year will be year 9s next year, and so on and so on and so on. So as long as I'm remaining this post, I'm going to keep doing that, because I know that we've got many wonderful young people in this county, many wonderful parents in this county. But there are also many young people who do not have that kind of luxury. So if we can influence them for good in one way, then I'll do that. That's brilliant. I love that you're doing that, and I think it's very, very important for the police to have that kind of connection. Obviously, you know, the police do get a bit of a rough ride. A bit, people, a lot. A lot. I mean, based on what's happened on the news recently, you know, with the missing Nikki Bully, you know. And, like I said, the police do get a bad rap. But then actually, I can understand why in some cases. If I could put something to you about that, because you know, I followed it a little bit. I try to stay away from negative news, because it doesn't help me a lot with my mentality. You know, I get really depressed. I'm an empath, right? If I see something and read something and it's hurtful, it hurts me, and I've got to be really careful with the information I'm taking, because seriously, it can affect my day in a terrible way. Sorry. But what
does interest me about this case in what I've seen for many, many years now, and I don't know how I feel about it, is when you have online sleuths who like to pick apart parts of the case.
The experts, the character,
the Google search wizards.
the sofa experts, yes.
Yeah, so what's your take on that?
Just this morning, I had a meeting with the chair of the National Police Chiefs Council, as well as the chief exec of the College of Police. And these are the two bodies that oversee pretty much of policing. And obviously, I have a national portfolio lead as well. And I was just talking with them about how important I think it is for policing to do a much better job in explaining to the public what it does, how it does what it does, and why it does what it does.
Yeah.
And not wait until when there's a crisis to start doing that, because by then it's too late.
Yeah.
And we saw a perfect example of that over the last couple of weeks. You had people saying, well, why haven't the police done this? Why did they do that? Why are they not doing this? I would have done. I'm like, first of all, hang on a second. You are not part of the investigation. You don't know what they see.
All the details.
And the police will not. They just simply will not be given a running commentary on every single investigation and what is going on and why they're doing what they're doing, because they have to do their job for starters. And it doesn't help when people start speculating, especially some of these people who are speculating are ex-police officers who are not part of the investigation. They've been retired for the last 20 years.
Know better.
They should know better, and sometimes they're the worst.
Yeah, no, that's...
And
that's
they've been out of policing for the last 20 years. All of a sudden, they know what is happening now and how things should be. Well, times have moved on, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And even if you only retired 2 years ago or even 2 days ago, you are not part of the investigation. You don't know what is going on, what they're seeing, and what, because they can't disclose everything that they are seeing in real time. And it is very frustrating. And don't get me wrong, sometimes the police do get things wrong.
Yeah.
You know, policing is not perfect science. Sometimes mistakes do happen. And that is a fact. Mistakes happen in the NHS all the time.
Yeah.
Mistakes happen in education all the time.
Every field that you can.
Every field you can. Mistakes happen, and policing is not exempt from that.
Yeah.
But I just find it very frustrating, though, that the police are constantly being berated. But look, you know, this is part of the job, and they have to just crack on with it, regardless.
Yeah, I think that, you know, there's fair reason in some way for people to give the police a hard time because of the responsibility you guys have. You know, it is difficult.
Yeah, in fairness, if you say that, I get that with the police being because of the responsibility, but the NHS have literally your life in their hands.
Yes, yeah.
Doctors have your life in their hands, but the NHS does not get anywhere near the level of scrutiny that police get.
Yeah.
Do you know the amount of money that the NHS pays out in medical negligence every year?
Yeah, I know.
It's millions.
Very
millions. You know, things go wrong all the time.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not trying to excuse mistakes that happen in policing.
Yeah.
But sometimes things that the public think is a mistake actually is not a mistake.
Yeah. It's
the
just
police
you
have
don't
to
know what's going
exactly
on.
right.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, like, you know, I wouldn't want the police to be revealing every single stage of an investigation because, number one, it's not necessarily relevant to the investigation to do that. And then number two, you might actually create more problems for the investigation by releasing the
exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And they just can't do that. But I do agree that there are cases when the police can do better in communicating with the public about what they're doing, how they're doing it, and why they're doing the way they're doing. And some of that could be, this is the reason why I can't tell you everything, but I can tell you this much, but I can't tell you much more. I know more, but I can't tell you everything that I know for X, Y, and Z reasons. And that's fine. You know, and that would reassure the public that the police are doing their job. But sometimes we also have to allow the police to just get on with their job. And also bear in mind that there's a process they must go through. Because as part of the evidential gathering process, if this case is going to go to court, the other side will have a defense lawyer, and they're going to be picking over what the police did or didn't do.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, well, did you follow that? Did you follow that to the law? If not, the case gets thrown out.
Yeah.
So it's not as straightforward as the public always make out sometimes, but man, it is
just want people to give you a bit of a break. Man. Yeah,
just let the police get on with their job.
You're under a lot of pressure. This is the thing. I can't even imagine. You know, I speak to a lot of police officers in Luton, and you know, obviously that's where I'm from, and we've not really talked about Luton very much so far, but I would like to. And you know, what they say is that they are inundated with calls. Like they're literally at breaking point.
Yeah.
And they're trying their best. And, you know, I know a lot of good cops over in Luton that do a lot of good work.
Yes.
And they're really there for the community. And, you know, they're putting hours that you just wouldn't believe. And to think that after all the work that they'll do, and then they still get the shit.
I mean, I was on patrol in Luton when I was a special constable.
Yeah.
And people do not understand the level of pressure on every single, and I mean literally every single police officer, PCSO, police staff. And I keep saying this, and I'll say it again and again and again. I'm yet to see a police officer or police staff in Bedfordshire who sat at a desk waiting for a job to do.
Yeah.
There isn't one. It doesn't exist.
I got told recently by a sergeant in the gangs unit that if he worked a full 24-hour shift, he would still have jobs to do the next day.
Precisely.
Yeah.
They've got, you know, there are times when over a weekend, the amount of jobs that come in, they still got jobs that they haven't been to because there's just a number of cases. If I give an example here, in Bedfordshire, our force control room, that's the team that deals with the 999 calls and things like that. They, last year on average, they were probably, 2 years ago on average, they were probably getting about 9,000 to 10,000 calls a month.
Oh, wow.
Now they're getting about 12 to 13,000 calls a month.
Yeah.
You know, that is that's quite a significant increase in volume.
Yeah.
Right? And the police are constantly being called to safeguarding jobs, people who have gone missing, mental health related jobs, which I'm making a big fuss about at the moment. Yeah. But the police can't say no.
Yeah.
You know, you can call the ambulance and they're going to say, well, there's no one around, we can't. But if there's a threat to life,
the police have to go.
They have to go.
Yeah, of course.
Even if it's a mental health job where someone is, you know, okay, they're threatening to kill themselves, but actually they don't actually end up doing that.
Yeah.
The police have to sit with that person until a nurse or hospital takes over.
Well, yeah, you've got duty of care there, haven't you? Yeah, and I appreciate that you guys doing that. I feel really bad that it's as stretched as what it is. And all I wish is that there would be more support for the police in that way to so then this isn't so. I mean, what is the problem here? Is it a problem of lack of police, or is it a problem of too much crime? Like, what's going on?
I don't think there will ever be enough police to deal with all the crimes that happens in the country. You know, there are about 145,000 police officers in Britain. And that would be at the highest it's been in terms of sheer numbers by the end of next year, I think, on the current trajectory, even despite the cuts that happened between 2010 and 2015. Yeah. But the reality is this: we've got a population of about 65 million.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You know, we've got historically, we've always had among the lowest number of police officers per 100,000 of the population compared to many other advanced countries.
Yeah.
So, but the solution, but the challenge that I have is this: when we start looking to the police to solve all of society's problems, the police will always fail. Yeah. Because the police can't deal with, you know, a man abusing his wife in the home. Yeah. They can't deal with all of those cases. You know, a parent neglecting their child. The police can't resolve that in all cases.
Or someone homeless on the street.
Or someone who decides to go and get drunk. Yeah. You know, the police cannot solve all of society's problems. They're part of the solution. Yeah. But that's it. They can't be the solution. Yeah. But increasingly, we see the police being looked at as the solution to
everything.
Everything. And it's just not possible.
Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
I'm just being honest.
Yeah, no, do you know what? I appreciate your honesty, because this is something that I think that I'm coming up with a lot with most figures in authority around Luton and Bedfordshire, which is that the pressure to fix all the problems shouldn't, like, say for instance with Luton Town Council, right? There's a big thing for people that when the King came, Luton all of a sudden became sparkling clean, right? And it really upset a lot of people because for them, they said, why can't it be like this all the time? And what they don't
Right.
understand
Yeah.
is that Luton Town Council has had a massive deficit in their budget over the last 10 years.
But even apart,
you know-
apart from that, is it Luton Town Council, is it Luton Borough Council that's responsible for the dirt?
No, that's
It's the people who are throwing
yeah,
the rubbish on the floor. They are the one causing the problem.
Yeah.
Is the police responsible for the knife crime? No, it is the people who are carrying the knives who are responsible for carrying the knives.
Yeah.
You know, so we need to start saying that people are responsible for their actions primarily.
Yeah.
And not keep pointing fingers at public services.
It's blame culture.
If people choose to eat junk food,
you're going to get fat, and you're going
over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, I love my ice cream. Don't get me wrong. I just had I love Ben and Jerry's ice cream. That's my thing, and I can finish just one tub in one sitting. I'm not kidding you.
No, me too.
I can finish a tub in one sitting. You know, that's my decision. But I don't drink. I don't smoke.
Yeah.
But my guilty pleasure is ice cream. But I've chosen to cut down massively this year.
Yeah.
But I go to the gym. I try to work out, look after myself, because I feel that
you're
I owe
aware
that to
of the
myself.
Consequences, right?
Right.
That's the thing. Yeah.
But I can't blame the NHS for me being morbidly obese and not being able to. Now, I know there's some cases where some people, for different reasons, the genetic reasons that make that. I'm not saying that, but there's some parts of the issues we have in society where people make choices, and then we expect the public services or somebody else to pick up the pieces.
Yeah. And that's not right. That's not right.
So I've got to be, in fairness to Luton Borough Council, is doing the best it can.
Yeah.
All of our local authorities are doing the best they can with the resources that they have. But there think there's some decisions that people make.
Yeah.
That make life much more difficult for everybody else.
Here's my issue with this. This is why I created the podcast, because I wanted to come in, show people that you're a real guy, you're a nice guy, and you're trying your best. And, it might not all be perfect, but you're doing your best.
Yeah.
And you've got a good head on your shoulders for it. And, I want to show this because, unfortunately, we have a massive problem in this country, not just in this country, in many countries around the world, with media, right? The media likes to put a spin on absolutely everything. Like, whether it's Luton, or whether it's the police, whether it's just the state of crime, or whether it's government policy or the opposition to the government, whatever it is, it's never a good, honest view on what's going on.
Funny you say this. I was interviewed by Beth Rigby on Sky News a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And towards the end of the interview, I said to her, we talk down this country too much. And we need to do a lot less of that and do a lot more of talking about the positive things that happens in our country. So whether it's a Labour government, a Conservative government, or a coalition, whatever the case might be, there are some good things that all of these different governments have brought in.
Yeah. Whether
it is Deadpool or Superman or Batman, I'm a Incredible Hulk fan personally. He's my guy. And Wolverine. But anyway.
Let's talk about Wolverine.
Okay, let's talk about Wolverine. Okay, he's having a bit of a bad time. There you go. Everyone is trying to do their best they can.
Yeah.
But there seems to be this narrative that is becoming the norm in Britain, where we just are negative about everything to do with this country.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think it's a bad approach that becomes self-perpetuating.
Yeah, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes.
It? Yeah.
But this is a damn brilliant country.
It is.
Despite its imperfection, despite some of its history that we don't need to go into, but this is a really pretty good country because let's face it, people are literally, as we speak, putting their lives at risk to come to Britain.
Yeah.
People are queuing at British high commissions in almost every country around the world, most developing country anyway, to come to Britain.
Yeah.
People want to come to Britain. There is no shortage of people who want to come here. Why?
Yeah.
It's not because of the weather. Because there's something good here.
It's true. Yeah, it's true.
If you look at the top 10 universities in the world, Britain, this tiny island called Britain, it's got a disproportionate number of universities in the top 10.
Yeah, I know.
In the world.
I can't remember how many it is. There's quite a few.
It's about 3 or 4.
Yeah,
so obviously Oxford, Cambridge, I think possibly
King's
LSE, London School of Economics, the King's.
Yeah.
We've got some really, really good academic institutions in this country. people are flocking
Yeah.
to come to this country. We're a tiny country compared to America.
Well, let's
But if you look at the output from this country compared,
let's talk about that actually. The immigration sort of issue, I guess you'd say at the moment. Obviously, with the stuff that I do, I come across a lot of refugees and people that have come from really, really war deprived and poverty deprived areas in the world. And I could totally understand them wanting to come over here. Man, if I was living in a country like that, I would want to.
That was my story.
Yeah, exactly.
Effectively, okay, I was not a refugee or asylum seeker. We came by choice, but things were very bad.
Yeah.
You know, with the military dictators and the coup and people just going missing in Nigeria back then. So that, in effect, was my story. Yeah.
No, and it's a terrifying prospect to live in. And I can't imagine the fear that you must have to want to get in a boat that you could potentially lose your life on and you could lose your children on.
Yeah.
You're prepared to take that risk to get to here. I mean, personally, I feel like we should open our arms to a lot of people. But there is a part of it what is a problem, which is people that are offenders over in these countries. Now, it's not a big part of it, but it is a part of it. And I don't understand it enough to make a comment on it, but I see it enough in the news where there's people that come over here and they have they've committed offences.
There was a man that was recently sent to jail for life. I think it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It turned out that he had shot someone in Europe before he came here.
Yeah.
I think he got another attempted murder charge against him, but somehow he got, I don't know if he got asylum here or if he illegally was here.
Yeah.
But he ended up killing someone.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I saw this. Wasn't it a girl? I think he
killed a woman. That's right. Yeah. Quite a brutal murder as well.
Yeah.
You know, that is a reality. I learned of a case again this week of someone who was an asylum seeker whose case has been turned down, and he was being deported. And eventually, because there was a kickoff on the aircraft that was taking him, he was taken off the plane. Some of the other passengers didn't want him on the plane. They were, basically trying to say, look, can't deport him.
Yeah.
This guy was convicted of rape.
Yeah.
Right? And now he's been sent back.
Yeah. So there's some success stories.
I mean, there are
a way of getting these people back to.
This is this is a divisive issue. I get it.
Yeah.
There are some people who come here for economic reasons, and there's debate to be had about whether that is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And there's a proper channel of getting a visa if you want to be an economic migrant. You have to have a controlled immigration system.
Yeah, definitely.
There has to be a control.
Yeah.
You can't just let anybody and everybody come into a country, because you need to know who they are, what their background is, what they contribute. You've got to be able to have that information.
Yeah.
So I don't agree with this uncontrolled, let everybody in. No other country allows that. I mean, if I want to go to Pakistan, I have to have a visa to go there.
Of course.
Because I wasn't born there. If I wanted to go to some African countries, I've got to have a visa.
Yeah.
There is a control system for all sovereignty. It's a matter of international law.
Yeah, of course.
Right. However, though, there are some people who you've got to say, well, you've got to question, what their motives are.
Yeah. No, I think it's very important to have like a strict policy, but also, it's got to be open enough to let the ones through that need the help.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't imagine the people that have that job.
I mean, that is my story. I was allowed in, as it were, and here I am.
Well, can I ask you then as well? What do you think about the this new alt-right group that sort of popped up recently?
It's very disturbing.
What are they called again? The
patriotic alternative.
That's it. Yeah. They had a rally recently in Dunstable.
Yes, and they've been dropping out leaflets.
Yeah, they've been dropping leaflets out to people's doors. And do you know what? This screams National Front for me. This screams that kind of.
If you look at they are a white supremacist group.
Yeah.
Based on what I've seen on some of their published articles, and that's a concern for me.
Yeah.
And I have been in talk with the Chief Constable about this. The force are very much alert to this. And my view has always been that despite the success that we've had, pushing EDL, the English Defence League, out of town, especially in Luton, over the years, the issue never really went away.
Yeah.
And very rarely do these issues ever go away permanently.
What is that? Why do people have this problem? Why does it keep coming up? It feels like to me it's based on racism, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I feel like. It's like an othering of people that aren't from these lands, And for me, it's stupid because
Britain is a nation of migrants. People from England, a lot of the British people.
If you go back to history,
test, right?
I guarantee you've got French blood, you've got Irish blood, you've got Scottish blood, you've got.
It's just a matter of how far back do you want to go.
Exactly. You're an immigrant. This is a country of immigrants.
Do you want to go back 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years? Yeah. How far back do you want to go?
Because at some point, if you decide to say no more people are allowed in, maybe you wasn't born then. Do you know what I mean?
Precisely, yeah. Look, the thing is this: we're in a free country.
Yeah.
And as much as it pains me to say this, we have to allow even the racists, to or the bigots to air their views, so long as it doesn't cross the line to what is a hate crime.
Yeah,
and that's an ugly reality. But I'd rather live in a free society where people can express their views, even if it offends my feelings, than to live in a society where people are not allowed to speak.
Yeah.
With the other parts of the world where that is happening, and I would not want to live there. And neither would you, I would imagine.
No, 100%.
But then you're a superhero, you can get away with anything. You can fly away. So I get that.
No, you've got a good point there. Because
and democracy and freedom of speech and all the stuff that comes with it is not pretty.
Yeah.
Until you consider the alternatives.
Yeah.
And what some of these people do is that they are able to operate within that very fine line of not being classed technically as a hate crime, but it is certainly quite incendiary. It is inflammatory and it's offensive. But in a democracy, there's nothing in a free society that prevents me from being offended.
Yeah. You're right. It's all about how you learn to take it. Yeah, like any information that comes in, it's up to you what you do with it. You can either be offended by it, or you can just.
But even if I'm offended by it, doesn't mean it's against the law.
Yeah.
It's not illegal.
Yeah.
And this is the challenge that the police find themselves in this kind of environment. But nonetheless, my discussions with the chief constable is, I hope that he's making sure that his officers are alert to what is going on in our communities, and that there's a proactive approach to reassure all of our communities and protect the rights of everyone to live freely and move freely in Bedfordshire, whether they're Muslim, Christian, or none of the above, whether they're black, white, Asian, or none of the above, whether they worship in a mosque or in the church or in the synagogue, whoever, or none of the above. So that the police are aware, because the last thing we want is a situation where we do not put in the resources and the effort now, and then things blow up, and then it's going to take 10 times the amount of resource to deal with it then.
Yeah.
Right. So, but the police are aware of what's going on.
No, it's good. It's really good to hear, because I honestly was getting a little bit worried about it, because what the media has always seemed to do with Luton, especially, is label us with this far right extremist sort of personality, which just isn't true. We're not represented by those people at all whatsoever. Yeah. So I just wanted to clear that up.
Well, there's been a huge amount of investment made by the force, and I think we're one of probably the only force in the country that has an ongoing community cohesion team.
Yeah.
So Alex House and Vic were the inspector and the chief and the sergeant for community cohesion. They attended a meeting yesterday, I believe, with the community to talk about this issue you just raised. And we've got a really good, long-standing team within that unit, the cohesion team, and their reach within the community is quite strong.
It's really good.
So that's going to continue, and that's part of the force's commitment to make sure that within policing and with all of our communities, there's that kind of outreach from there. Well, look, this is something that is going to be an ongoing task. I'm afraid it's not going to go away.
It's a never-ending war, is it? It's such a heavy part of that's been wired into us from a very, very. What I put it down to is it's really ancient wiring, right? So it's like we were like monkeys living in caves, and when one group of monkeys would come over, we'd sense them. It's a war.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I was thinking about this just the other day, and I said, what is it about someone like me that makes somebody afraid?
Yeah, it's a difference thing. Isn't it?
You know, what is it about others that makes somebody else afraid? You know, we've got, if you go into our custody suite here, you see, you know, black people there, you see white people there, you've got Asian people in the custody suite.
No,
you know, the criminals who of all shit, you know, but then why this situation where you just focus on one group of people and criminals from that community and not the others?
Yeah.
You know, any criminal is a danger to anyone potentially. But it is a worry that there are some people who are in public facing roles who are also stoking this fear. And I'm not going to name any names. And that's a real concern to me. Look, and like I just said, just to recap my position on this issue, is that we're in a free society and people have the right to associate, to speak, to think, so long as they don't break the law.
Yeah.
But their right to speak does not mean they don't have a right to also offend me.
Yeah.
You know, offending someone is not against the law.
Yeah.
But being racist, being sexist, being homophobic, being Islamophobic, being anti-Semitic is against the law.
Or threatening people.
That's against the law.
Yeah, of course.
So, unfortunately, that is where we find ourselves at the moment. But I would encourage anyone, if they are being threatened by anyone, they should report it to the police.
Yeah, 100%.
And that'll be dealt with.
Yeah, definitely. No, I agree. Festus, this has honestly been awesome, man, talking to you. So can we wrap this up just by talking about some things that the Bedfordshire Police have got coming up or going on, or just let me know what's happening?
Well, a lot of work is going on at the moment. So we've just passed the budget for 2023-24. A huge area of focus of that is investment in community policing. We want to establish and bed in more community policing, which the cohesion team are also part of that. So we're increasing that number. So I'm really glad that the Chief Constable now, Trevor Rodenhurst, is building on the platform of his predecessor in having more community police officers. That's one good thing.
Yeah.
We're also going to be investing more in what we call victim engagement officers. What we find is that with some of the really concerning and growing cases of rape reports, you get better outcomes for the victims of those crimes if they remain engaged with the criminal justice system for longer. And so the victim engagement officers, their job is to support a victim of a crime, usually of rape and serious sexual assaults, through the criminal justice system, because if they're engaged, the likelihood of securing a conviction is a lot higher against the offender. So we're going to be increasing the investment in that. We're doing a lot more work, for example, also around our estates. So how are we making sure that where Bedfordshire Police buildings are located are serving the community a lot better?
Yeah.
So that is an issue. But of course, there's the ongoing work and the intensification of work against organized crime gangs. Just in the last 12 months, up to January this year, about £4.3 million worth of cocaine and heroin.
Yeah, I saw
were taken off of our streets.
Yeah.
Assets have been seized. Over 200 years of prison sentence have been issued out to about 100 or so people who have been convicted since about over the last three or 4 years. So we've got special government grants to deal with this kind of intensified work against organized crime gangs. But look, man, the challenge against drugs and organized crime gangs in Bedfordshire is real.
Yeah.
But we're not going to relent in our effort to crack down on those gangs. But more importantly, I'm putting a lot of effort now into actually seizing the assets of those individuals. So just this week, an order was, last week or two, a seizure order was granted by a court against two men who were who were sentenced to prison for a long time, over 20 years, for conspiracy to supply firearms.
Oh, okay.
So their houses were seized and auctioned off by Bedfordshire Police. And that money goes back into the police force.
Yeah.
So we're seizing their assets. So we're not going to just stop at arresting and convicting them. We're also going to go after the ill-gotten gains. We've also had enforcement against businesses that are being used as fronts.
Yeah, that's
by criminal gangs. Yeah. We're talking about estate agents, solicitors firms, accountancy firms, car wash, all the kinds of
shops,
chip shops, fish and chip shops that are being used as fronts for criminal gangs. Again, they're getting shut down and their assets are being seized.
Yeah, no,
we're going to keep doing that.
It's good that you guys are putting the work in, man. And honestly, I can't thank you enough for the work that you're doing. Everything that you're doing for young people as well is beautiful, mate. And I'm so glad that I've been able to foster a friendship with you and get to know you properly.
Yeah, absolute pleasure.
And I look forward to the future.
And look, you are doing an amazing work, and I seem to see you everywhere on my social media feed at the moment. I'm like, that's that guy again. That's that guy again. That's the guy. Oh, bloody hell, that guy again. No, seriously, and it's good. And I can't thank you enough for what you do as well. And it brings something different for a good cause. And I know it's not about you; it's about the cause that you're trying to achieve. So well done to you on that.
Oh, thank you, man. I really appreciate that. Well, I think we'll wrap it up here because I can see in your watch you're about to get a call that you need to go somewhere.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be going out with the roads policing team.
Oh, lovely.
So part of what I try to do as commissioner is to meet with the teams. So I've been out with the firearms team to see them being trained. Actually, I've been able to,
have a little shoot,
not a little shoot, but actually they have big guns and the little ones. I've been able to be a part of that with the dogs unit as well, with the community teams, the response teams. Like try to get out with as many of them as I possibly can. So today I'm going out with the roads policing team just to support them, and also that's where I get to learn about challenges that they're facing.
Yeah,
that's how I can also know how I can help them. Because if I'm not seeing it,
how can you understand?
It's difficult to really understand how to better support them. That's part of my job as commissioner.
No, dude. Well, thank you for having me, Festus, and good luck on the rest of your day. I know you're going to have an awesome time.
Thank you very much.
Hey, and everybody, watch out because we'll do another one at some point.
Absolutely.
Down the line. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching. Love you, Luton. Bye. All right, thank you, dude. That was amazing.
Absolute pleasure.
That was amazing. You were so good. You're so good.